New defensive coordinators obviously incoming. Phil Snow's your interim defensive coordinator. Man, I will say this. So the ticket, cut the clip yesterday of me reacting to just a few, literally names off the top of my head. I had no time to really prep when it came to potential defensive coordinators that could be brought in. The news was announced literally like 30 to 42 minutes. I think it was 42 minutes before this show went on the air about John Butler being relieved of his defensive coordinator duties. So I was mostly thinking about John Butler, the defensive coordinator. You know, those things. I wasn't really thinking about potential new defensive coordinators. And honestly, I'll do a show in the future more in depth on that. I want to do a little bit deeper dive, a little bit more recon on certain things. There are certain names that pop into my head. I'm not going to lie to you. Jim Leonhard keeps popping into my head over and over and over and over. He just does. And one of the responses I got, that's not what the show is about, but just for 20 seconds, indulge me. One of the responses I got is, I don't know about another NFL guy coming in here. That didn't work out so great with Butler. You know, I will say this about Butler. Like, he's a pass defense specialist. Our pass defense was great. He wasn't helped that much up front with what he was provided with when it came to defensive line play, when it came to experience, size, or anything. I'm not defending him. I'm not saying he should have been fired. I'm just saying when you look at the whole scope of the picture, I mean, there were several guys who had their hand in that cookie jar when it came to guiding this defense this past season. I mean, Phil Snow, that's his expertise. You've got Matt Rhule. He's more of a defensive guy than offensive guy. Then you've got John Butler as well. So for me, Butler being relieved, that's fine. We discussed it yesterday. You look at the whole scope of things, there are more things that need to be addressed than just who is in charge of the defense. So, but just indulge me for 20 seconds. When you look at Jim Leonhard, and again, he's just the first name that came into my mind. He's a name that's probably going to come out of my mouth again. I'll talk about more names in the future as time goes on, but I'm not done reflecting back before I start moving forward. That's why the title of this show is Should Nebraska Fans Be Concerned? Whether it's the size of the signing class tomorrow, where we're rated, whether it's Matt Rhule's about to hire his 7th coordinator before he's even started his 4th year as a head coach. 2 offensive coordinators, 2 special teams coordinators, about to hire his 3rd defensive coordinator. Like, these things, I think concerning is a fair word. Some people kind of use panicked. I wouldn't say panic is a fair word. I would say a sense of urgency is necessary at this point. Like, Jake and I have talked in the past about transfer portal players. We got to have a higher batting average when it comes to bringing in guys through the portal who actually contribute on the field. We have to have a higher batting average on guys that we hire to coach here in Nebraska and produce good football on the field. The positions, the groups that they're coordinating and or coaching. There is a sense of urgency that honestly should always be in place. But boy, I would never panic. Panic never leads to anything good. But man, that sense of urgency, it has got to be at another level when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to transfer portal guys and higher batting average, success rate, and bringing guys in who actually contribute at a high level. When it comes to who you hire as freaking coaches. Jake, before we went on air, is like, man, what if Dana Holgerson does really, really well and then he's gone? Well, I'd love to have to deal with trying to retain the guy before. I'd rather try to keep guys in the door than constantly shoving them out the door, because that's what we seem to be doing way too often right now. But when, again, I keep talking about Jim Leonhard and going off on random sidebars. When it comes to Leonhard, I know he's with the Broncos right now, but I view him as a college guy who wasn't hired in college this past year and is in the NFL, but he's not really an NFL guy who'd be coming back to college. He's more of a college coach, college player. I know he played in the NFL too, who's just currently in the NFL, but that's not where he spent the majority of his time. I see Jim Leonhard, honestly, as a Big Ten guy playing at Wisconsin, having coached defensive coordinator, very good defenses at Wisconsin. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea where he's on Matt Rhule's list. I know SMU's defensive coordinator has been brought up by a ton of people to me. He was a guy that was brought up last year. I remember, I told Jake before we went on air, I said, I remember watching the ACC championship game last year, and I couldn't have given 2 cents to this side of a monkey's rear end who won that game, except all of a sudden, SMU's defensive coordinator, what's his name, Jake?
Scott Simons.
Don't you love it when I just randomly talk for 20 minutes and then randomly throw it to you? You're supposed to magically have. You did a phenomenal job, by the way. You do a great job.
I have it written down somewhere.
Yeah, well, I actually have the notes in front of me. I just didn't feel like flipping through all my screenshots. Because I remember watching that game and being like, oh, man, we might have SMU's defensive coordinator. Obviously, we hired John Butler, but I was actually like paying attention to that game. A lot of points scored in that game, by the way. So there's other names that are being thrown out. I don't know where Jim Leonhard ranks on Matt Rhule's scale of things, but he's a guy who has coached at a high level as a defensive coordinator, coached at a high level as a defensive coordinator in one of the top 2 leagues in college football, and specifically the Big Ten. So, again, I don't even know where he is when it comes to Matt Rhule's list of things. This is just the initial names that have popped into my head. But as far as defining this past season as success or not, should Nebraska fans be concerned going forward or not? That's what this show is really about. And I'm not going to use the word panic. I think concerned is a fair word because concern is maybe a step above urgency, or maybe it's equivalent to, like, would you rank concern a notch higher than urgency, a notch below, or equivalent to the word urgency? If you're just thinking about how it strikes you when you hear the word concern or urgency.
Yeah, I'd say urgency is more higher, I suppose, in that ranking. So.
Okay. I would have said concern. I think it's equivalent to, if nothing else. So I think a sense of urgency absolutely is in place. Matt Rhule has shown, hey, you're not doing a good job. I'll let you go. What I would like to see Matt Rhule show is, I'm going to hire you. You're going to do a good job and you're going to stay here. Or other people try to poach you because you're doing good. Now I got to try to figure out how to keep you here. That's what I would like to see going forward. Okay, that's the sense of urgency we now need to have. He has shown he will let people go. He has shown he will make unorthodox moves, bringing in Holgerson in November a year ago. He has shown these things. He has shown the ability to look around him and see, I need to change things. What I haven't seen consistently is the ability to retain things that were already working. Can I say white and knighting and then move on without people getting pissed at me? To retain things that were already working. And again, there were inner workings that, we've alluded to and flat out talked about in the past. Don't need to go into that again. Or bring in guys who are successful, and then you got to figure out how to retain them. Because in today's day and age of college football, when I was being recruited in high school, there were 3 coaching staffs that by far were the most tenured in America. You got to keep in mind, I was being recruited early 2000s. So transport yourself back to that time if you're old enough to do so. It was Penn State, Joe Paterno. Okay, had been there for 50 plus years. It was Nebraska. Even though Osborne was gone, you still had Solich, and you had all these guys, Darlington and Brown, who's still here, and all these guys, Turner Gill was the quarterback's coach, all these guys who'd been here for decades. And then you had Oregon with Mike Bellotti, if you remember Mike Bellotti. Those were the 3 most tenured. And I'll be honest with you, as I'm talking about it, I still remember sitting outside Mike Bellotti's office in the Oregon football facility because he was actually the one that pointed it out to me. He goes, it's Penn State, Nebraska, and us, right? And then nobody else is even close. I just remember that conversation in his office, like sitting outside his office, then we go in. It was right. They offered me a scholarship. I to this day, don't believe him because he thought I wanted to play quarterback. I don't want to play quarterback. I didn't like quarterback. If I'm going to throw something, I was going to go play baseball. I was a pitcher, okay? If I was going to play football, I want to hit somebody. I remember him telling me, we'll bring you in as a quarterback because he thought that's what I wanted to hear. And he goes, but if it doesn't work out, we're going to move you to defensive end. I remember walking out of his office, looking at my dad and going, do you believe him? My dad goes, nope, they're going to move you to defensive end day 1, which was fine with me. It's actually what I wanted. But that isn't what he believed. And again, I don't know that definitively. That was just both of our takes at that point in time. So, Nebraska. And I want to play the clip of what actually prompted me to talk about this. It's the fact that National Signing Day is tomorrow. I'm going to assume we're going to do a ton of things in the transfer portal. That's my assumption. Okay, it's not lack of funds. Matt Rhule said we got plenty of money here now. There's haves and have-nots, and he basically said we're amongst the haves. Now, there may be some people who have a little bit more, but not many. So we haven't spent a lot of money on this recruiting class because there's 9 people. And I don't have a show here on the ticket tomorrow, so just real briefly, the 9 folks currently committed, obviously Dayton D committed. We don't have a quarterback. You can obviously link him to Jet Tamala all you want. I'm still curious to see. I mean, has Dayton committed anywhere else?
Not that I've seen.
Who are the 2 schools? Charlotte and what? I always forget the other one.
Yeah, I'll look it
Yeah, Google it real quick. All right. Like he decommitted to go to where? Charlotte? Like what is the plan there? I mean, I wish him the best. I've told you I've liked his game. He's a little bit more physical, a little bit more hard-nosed. And he's that kind of under-the-radar kid that plays really tough, works his butt off. I don't know, kind of remind you of some other people who wore the N over the years. I've always kind of rooted for him specifically. Now, it doesn't appear App State.
Yeah.
App State. Charlotte and App State is not committed anywhere. It doesn't appear as though he's going to come here, although he could always recommit. But when he decommitted, I was like, did you get an offer I'm not aware of? Like, or do you just like Charlotte and App State that much more? Is there NIL things going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of? Honestly, that seems the most likely to me without having anything confirmed, just pure speculation. In a court of law, that would not stand. This is not the court of law. We can speculate all we want, Jake. I do think like it's fair speculation, though. So as far as signing day, I'm just going to assume that we are doing a lot through the transfer portal. And that's why this class is smaller, and that's why we have put, I won't say all of our eggs, but like a lot of our eggs into the 2027 class, which appears by all rights that it can potentially be very special. But as far as Nebraska fans being concerned, I like the term sense of urgency. I don't like panic. Concerned is fine. I think that's fair. Sense of urgency. It's like that old saying, go quick, but don't hurry. Hurry means you're a little bit discombobulated, maybe out of control. Going quick means you got a purpose. You ain't got time to waste. Let's go. Like, we got to start getting things right. Like, that's how I view Nebraska football going forward. I look around at all these sports. Look at volleyball. Danny Busboom Kelly, Big Ten Coach of the Year. Shout out. Congratulations. 20-0 in the Big Ten, 30-0 overall. You know they lost one set. One frickin' set in all the Big Ten play. Did you know that? Just say no so I sound smart, please.
No, I had no clue.
Oh, thank you. So congratulations. Nebraska volleyball team, number 1 overall seed. I'm calling it now, Nebraska, Kentucky. So Kentucky had to reverse sweep. So it's number 1 Nebraska, number 2 Kentucky, number 3 Texas. Not like the number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. But this is how they were seeded. Nebraska's number 1 overall. Kentucky's number 1 seed, but number 2 overall, etc. Texas 3, and then Pittsburgh 4. We already mollywopped Pittsburgh already this year, but if we play them again, which we'd be on the road to in the Final Four if both teams make it, it's always hard to beat the same team twice, but we'd be favored. Texas actually was up 2-0 on Kentucky, and Kentucky reverse swept them a little over a week or 2 ago, just kind of like we did Kentucky earlier this year. I'm calling it Nebraska-Kentucky National Championship. The one team that pushed Nebraska to a limit this year. They were up 2-0 early in the season. We reverse swept them. Let me ask you a question, though. Would you rather play Kentucky or Texas in the national championship, Jake?
I mean, it'd probably feel good to beat Texas. I don't want another one of those Texas topping you one more time.
Yeah.
So probably Kentucky.
No, you don't have any faith. But I look around at all the other Nebraska sports right now. It used to be there were other good sports in Nebraska, but it was football. I don't know that it's completely inverse. I'll let you come to your own conclusions, but volleyball's volleyballing. Rifle, already talked about them being number 1. Bowling's number 2. Okay, track is always top 25. Wrestling is still going to be one of the best in the country this year. All right. Probably them and Penn State, top 2 in the country by the end of the season, by the time that rolls around. You look at women's basketball, 15 in the country. Men's basketball, number 28 in the country. Both undefeated. Combined 15-0, I believe. Let's see. And this is, when I try to list every sport, this is why I never do it, because inevitably I leave somebody out, and I'm not trying to insult anybody. Gymnastics, Emma Spence, who does a lot of stuff here on the ticket, phenomenal. You look at men's tennis, women's tennis, they're on the rise. Who else we got here? I mean, softball, I got even higher expectations this year because I think they're even better. Men's basketball, 2-time Big Ten champs. You look at football, and it's like, all right, let's raise the level, boys. Let's do it. Play that clip from Sipple.
So on the one hand, they are going to back-to-back bowls for the first time since 2013, 2014. That's good. On the other side of it, where I'm disappointed is I think Penn State and Iowa are like they're heavy lifting games. It's hard to go beat Penn State on the road, even a down Penn State team. It's hard to go there and win on the road in the cold and a big, kind of a big time environment. There were a lot of empty seats. And then Iowa's just Iowa. And Nebraska didn't. You play those teams in November, it's going to be hard. And if you beat one of them or beat both of them, you look at it and say, okay,
progress.
That's progress. But instead of progress, they got waylaid.
They got Motley Crue, same old situations.
They got hammered in both games. Now say what you want about those teams. They're physical teams. They're traditionally physical heavyweight programs. They're heavyweights. You beat UCLA. That's a light duty truck. I mean, it's good. It's a good win. You went to LA and won, and that's good. But it was perfect conditions, and UCLA's down, way down. Iowa and Penn State are rough. That's a rough go in November. And I thought, okay, if they can get one, that would show me something. They didn't even come close. Didn't come close.
That was probably the biggest thing was that it wasn't close.
So a couple of things real quick before we react to that clip. Let me see here. Nebraska is now projected to get a 10th commit, projected, 3-star athlete, Amari Saab, 5'8", 155 pounds.
That's not very big.
Okay, I didn't say anything. I just looked at you.
I know, but that's specifically not big at all. But hey, I mean, we've seen great Darren Sproles type players.
There you go.
What he's going with, but
there you go. So it is up to 10 now. To be clear, Emma Spence graduated. She's just awesome. I wanted to throw her name out there. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to throw her name out there. She's awesome. She does a great job here at the ticket. She's one of the all-time best to ever perform in collegiate gymnastics ever. Anyways. Nebraska, did you know they actually had the 22nd ranked defense in the country? Think about that. Almost overall defense. Almost top 20. You know when that becomes a problem? When you're in the bottom half, like way in the bottom half of the Big Ten in sacks, and you're 95th in the country when it comes to stopping the run. You give up 77 points in the last 2 games. Your opponents average over 5 yards a carry. Your opponents, the last 2 games combined, have 10 trips into your red zone. They scored 9 touchdowns. You have 10 trips into their red zone. You score 2. Those things are rough. Those things lead to other things like what happened yesterday. Now, back to Sip. When I heard him say that, I thought of you. Mister, they've been to back-to-back bowl games. I am happy. This is successful. Go ahead. I just kind of mocked you, so go ahead. Fire back. What are your thoughts?
well, I mean, that was before the final 2 weeks.
Oh, now we're moving the goalpost again. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was obviously, and that's what these firings. Well, the firing of John Butler is about. I think is the last 2 weeks. If you look at points per game, Nebraska was the top 25 defense this year, and you can have your arguments, whatever you want. And Nebraska's defense ranks higher than Nebraska's offense in points per game. They rank higher in total off defense compared to total offense. They rank higher in passing defense compared to passing offense. Wow. So, yeah, and you just mentioned Nebraska's offense hasn't been scoring in the red zone. Now they've had an injury, the quarterback. They've also had Emmett freaking Johnson. The defense didn't have anybody near that caliber. So, interesting times to say the least. But yeah, I mean, regardless of what you finish and, getting to 7 wins and all that, I think that does represent some sort of something, right? I mean, there's got to be something.
You're struggling to find words.
Well, I mean, you're getting it's more regular season wins than you had since 2016. So there's something there, but you got blown out 3 times, twice toward the end. You're losing to interim coaches. I mean, or coaches that in Biff Pogge's case that aren't the coach of the program. It's just so there's something there. But did this team make progress? Again, in the wins category, yes. In the feeling category, probably not.
We played 3 teams, multiple teams this year with freshman quarterbacks. Okay, we played 3 teams this year. To your point, where they did not have their head coach on the sidelines. We're 1 and 2, Michigan, Penn State, UCLA, and I was so annoyed that Rutgers only lost to Penn State by 4. Annoyed is the nicest word I can think of. I went and looked at Penn State's schedule. You know the team they blew out the worst this year? You can take a guess.
Guess us?
Villanova. You know who was second?
Yeah.
Us. Villanova's in the FCS. We're not talking college basketball here. We were second. Not Rutgers. Not Northwestern, who they lost to. Not UCLA, who Sipple called a Tonka truck and they lost to.
Now, here's my question, though, because this is, as we do, the end of the season's fun because you can run all these numbers. Nebraska's teams that they did beat in the Big Ten, they beat 4 of them, finished with a combined 9-27 record in the Big Ten. Did Nebraska regress throughout the season? Would Nebraska beat Michigan State and Maryland in November? Is it a November problem, or is it just a bit of fool's gold because of the way the schedule ended up playing out for Nebraska?
By the way, it's a 25% win percentage for all those math majors out there. 9 wins, 27 losses. As far as our opponents that we beat, combined record in the Big Ten. For me, and this is where even before, and I know I was having fun with you earlier, even before when you were like, man, if we get to 7-5, it's back-to-back bowl games, it's back-to-back 7-win seasons, which, man, how the goalposts have changed over the past 10 years. For all of us, I'm sitting here saying 8 wins would have been a successful season after we fired multiple 9-win coaches in the past decade or 2. But that's okay. I never agreed with that, me personally. Like, that was your take, and obviously it's changed after seeing how the last two games unfolded, because how games unfold matters beyond just the WL itself. You lose on a last-second Hail Mary, that feels different than losing 37-10 or 40-16, okay? Giving up 77 combined points in your last two games. But for me, I looked at the strength of schedule. And I actually talked about at one point how really it's even worse than I thought it was before the season. And we talked about last year's strength of schedule being down a year ago. This year's strength of schedule was even lower, I think fairly considerably. Last year, Illinois won 10 games, and Indiana obviously was in the playoff, and we played Ohio State, who won a national title. Like, we have played 0 playoff teams this year. 0. Nobody's going to be in the playoff. Our most impressive win was Cincinnati, the game that everyone was freaking out afterwards because we barely won. And I pointed this out elsewhere. There were 5 games going into the season that really mattered. You got the biggest names, Michigan, USC, lost. You've got the highest ranked team in the preseason poll, Penn State, lost. And then you got the 2 teams we really wanted to freaking beat, Minnesota, Iowa, lost. I guess what I'm getting at is the sense of urgency is real. The sense of panic is never going to be beneficial, so I'm not going to talk about that. But when we hire guys, we've got to have a higher batting average. When we bring in guys from the portal, guys from high school, like, you've got to develop them. They have to be better 3 years after they've been on campus than they were day one. In November, we need to be a better team than we were August 28th, Thursday night in Arrowhead. We need to be better as time goes along. The team needs to progress throughout the season. The players need to develop over time. The coaches need to produce way more often than not. Like, I'm aware the other guys are lifting, the other guys are getting paid, the other guys are working hard too. But we've got to show more going forward in the future. The sense of urgency is real. Again, no panic, no apathy. It's the sense of urgency. Like, my heightened awareness to everything right now is probably higher than it's ever been. Because, quite frankly, I want Matt Rhule to be our coach 4 years from now. We need Matt Rhule to be our coach 4 years from now. We need, okay, just bear with me. If Tony White had stayed, obviously it didn't. I'm not trying to go down this road for negative reasons. I'm saying if he had stayed, do you realize he'd be going into his 4th season as our defensive coordinator? You want to talk about stability? Like, that's what we need over time. By the way, Phil Parker at Iowa, how long has he been here? You know he's tweeted 4 times in 5 years. You know what those 4 dates are?
I do, but
you do? The 4 times
no.
they beat us. That's the only time he ever tweets.
Yeah.
One time we beat them. That's why he didn't tweet. Like, consistency over time starts with bringing in people who have success to begin with, and then you continue to develop and get better. For me, this year, if we lose the bowl game, there's no way I can call it a success. There's no way I can dub it acceptable, if I'm just being honest with you. The same record as last year with a considerably easier schedule, and frankly, some games looked way worse. I point back to last year was Indiana. And there were some other frustrating losses, Illinois in overtime, but hey, we were in overtime versus how some of the things went this year, especially down the stretch. If we win the bowl game, we'd have 8 wins, and I would deem it acceptable, but I cannot deem it successful. That would have involved beating either Penn State or Iowa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I do think also a big part of this, and it has to be factored in, is when did the contract extension get signed?
Yep.
And what happened after that? Because you're buying in based on what we saw from the beginning of the year, and then you finish losing 3 or 4 down the stretch with 2 being absolute blowouts. That kind of changes the context of what is successful as well.
So everybody's definition of success is different, because it's been pointed out, the back-to-back 7 wins, things we haven't done in a while, back-to-back bowl games. I know the bar is lower than it's been in a long time here, but, I mean, the bar isn't that low. It's not that low, in my opinion. Last year, the bowl game, that was as low as the bar will ever be. Hopefully, it's never that low again.